You're too old, and it's too late to start. Has anyone ever said that to you? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's too late to quit. And oh yeah, you're not too old. In fact, the good news is that it's always the right time to start. You've come to the right place. And me and my friends are going to share our stories of why we will never, ever throw in the towel. Welcome to the Too Late to Quit podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Iftikharuddin. Let's go.
The days are shorter now, the air inside a chill. You ask me when I'm coming back, because you know I will. When I'm missing you and all alone, Sunstreet valleys call me home. I've been away a while, still see the longing in your eyes of blue. Can you wait a little longer till the winds are blowing stronger? 'Cause I'll be home for the fall. I'm settled enough in this town where I live. I found love in warm days and songs to give. But memories swirl in my head like dancing leaves of orange and red. I've been away a while, still see the longing in your eyes of blue. Can you wait a little longer till the winds are blowing stronger? 'Cause I'll be home for the fall. Bursts of color rise and fall at my feet. It's not the distance, but the promises you keep. I will fly, I will fly. I've been away a while, still see the longing in your eyes of blue. Can you wait a little longer till the winds are blowing stronger? 'Cause I'll be home for the fall. I will fly, 'cause I'll be home for the fall.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Too Late to Quit podcast. I'd like to give a very warm welcome to my special guest, Jeannine Higgins. Jeannine, thank you so much for coming by the podcast.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So what you all just got to hear was a very special acoustic rendition of Be Home for the Fall. And before we even kick off the interview, I would love it if you could please, because I was fortunate enough to meet you at the New World Deli in Austin a couple weeks ago. And I was sitting there and you opened with this song and I was way in the back, but it completely floored me. And so I would love it if you could please share the story of that song to all of us.
Well, let me start by saying that I am originally from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and that fall is one of my favorite times there. But that's not really what this song is about. A few years ago, we were going to go back in the fall for my niece's wedding. And I was talking to my dad a lot that summer, and I would have conversations with him on the phone, and I would say, Dad, we're coming back in October. We're going to be coming to visit, or, and he passed away unexpectedly in August. And it's really, sometimes if I'm performing the song, I will give a short introduction. And the short introduction is, it's a song about going home to see my father. But it really is a song about not getting home to see my father before he passed away. Mm-hmm. So that was the inspiration.
What makes you give sometimes a short intro and then sometimes the long intro? What has to happen for you to give the long intro?
I think it depends on the audience and how attentive they are, and how accepting they seem of me being a little more vulnerable. Because it could just be a song about going home in the fall to see someone special. I think I actually did give the long introduction at New World Deli, and so that was a little signal that I felt comfortable and in good company. And it just depends. I mean, if I'm doing a gig with a room that's not quite as attentive, I may not even bother to give that long introduction. So
I'm very glad that you gave that introduction when you played it there. I think what's interesting is that, so a little bit of backstory, whenever that was, a few weeks ago, I was going to be my turn in a couple people. And so I went to go tune my guitar. And I heard this melodic voice kind of carrying through there's this beautiful long hallway. I love the location there. It's kind of, it reminds me of almost this European feel. There's this little bookstore there, and then there's a hair salon. It's all very interesting, but there's this hallway, and this voice was just carrying this really beautiful melodic voice. The thing that caught my attention, though, was that when I was in the furthest corner of that hallway, is there was this beautiful haunting tone to the voice. Because, I think you can hear a lot of classically trained voices, and they'll have a certain volume. The character that I heard in your voice, in addition to having this strong, beautiful voice, that's what caught my attention. And I wanted to see, who is that singing? And I was so curious to hear you perform, because I wanted to see what was behind what I was interpreting as this beautiful, haunting tone. And I don't mean that in a down way, but there's something very real about it. And then when I watched you play, and again, I thought the introduction was so great, because I'd never met you. I didn't know anything about you. And all of a sudden I felt like I was kind of riding shotgun with you on that whole experience. That's what really drew me in. And then as I've been listening to your music over the past couple weeks, I find what I'll do is I would call your albums no skips. And I started listening to your stuff. I was downtown. My wife was with some cousins of ours, and I parked in a parking garage, and as I walked all around the city to meet up with them, I listened to your first record from 2018, self-titled. Yeah. And there is this, and I don't know if this was intentional, but it felt almost hypnotic. It felt like a meditation. There's a prevailing vibe or a feeling that I sense throughout from start to finish. And I didn't know what the songs were about. I was trying to come up with my theories. But there's this thread, I feel, that holds the songs on that record together, where I never found myself saying, oh, let let me skip this one to the next one. It was like, I felt like if I did that I was going to be assembling a puzzle and missing a piece. And I'm just, I'm going to skip around a bit because I want to talk to you about, obviously about Pennsylvania and how you ended up here. Before we do that, is that your first record that you put out in 2018?
Yeah, so Jeannine Higgins was my first recording, and I felt that it was appropriate to self-title because I felt like it was a very personal collection of songs. And they were really my first ones that I wrote. So, yeah.
Are you okay if I ask you how old you were when you started that record?
48.
48, okay. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm trying to calculate roughly 48.
So I have so many questions. Because the thing is that the whole reason why I started this podcast is that I think I was 32. I was in LA and I said something. I was thinking about doing something. And this person said, "Oh, wait, you're way too old to do that." And I remember having this jarring sensation. And this person was at the time they're in their mid-50s. And I remember thinking, what an odd thing to say now that I look back to somebody 32 who has, hopes and dreams. And as I've gone through the music industry, I see this, especially like if I'm doom scrolling on TikTok or Instagram Reels, this idea that anything north of 20 it's time to, pull up to the cubicle and wait for your gold watch in, 20, 30 years, which I think is bonkers. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And so I absolutely love the fact that you did that record when you were 48, because I know there's somebody that's going to hear this and be like, oh shit, I thought it was too late. And I want people to see like, no, actually it's the opposite. Like it's exactly the right time. So before I jump into that, please tell me, because I'm fascinated with the state of Pennsylvania. Tell me about you growing up there and your beginnings with music, leading up to that.
Okay. Well, I always say I was born singing because I cannot remember a time in which I was not singing. Like if you ask me, who are you? One of the main things I would have to say is I'm a singer. So I grew up with music in the house. My mother sang all the time. She was a stage actress and acted in community theater. So she was singing show tunes all the time. And also, I'm one of 7, and
okay.
My siblings are also very musical. So everybody sang, everybody played. There were always records playing in the house. So I grew up, I have siblings that are quite a bit older than me. Mm-hmm. So I grew up listening to music that was, the Beatles and Crosby, Stills and Nash and, Donovan. Mm-hmm. So I discovered all of those bands at a very young age. But, we all played piano and I played cello in the orchestra, and I was always in a choir. So literally from second grade to college, I was in a choir. I actually am presently in a choir. Come to think of it, I sing with this San Gabriel Chorale. They practice out of Southwestern University. So I am actually presently in a choir right now. So music was just always a part of what was going on in our household.
What was you mentioned some crazy awesome artists. What's your first musical memory? What's the first connection you have with music?
I don't know. I can't remember my first, But I certainly remember Joni Mitchell being a very, one of my biggest inspirations. Even as a young child, I would, much to my brother's dismay, I guess, I would take out their albums and listen to them and probably scratch them up. But I think that is just my earliest memories, is hearing my mother singing in the house and my brothers and sisters always singing and playing piano, or, you know.
Was that your first instrument, the piano?
You know, I think I played them both. The cello, I was in the orchestra, I played the cello, but I think I was also playing piano at the same time. So I can't remember exactly which one was first. But it was important. My parents valued music education, and they were very supportive.
Mm-hmm. So while you were growing up, were you, so your mother was constantly was performing?
Well, early on, I still remember as a young child, but I think, you know, the demands of raising a family and, you know, I think that got to be too much. So she did stop for a long period of time.
When she stopped, who was the primary person who was playing the piano in your house?
Well, let's see. I remember my older sister playing. My brother, whose name is Jeff, by the way. A little shout out to Jeff. He would play. My mother. Yeah, so. And of course, we would just practice, you know, what we were given for our lessons.
How old were you when you started? So would you go to a teacher's house? Would the teacher come?
Yes,
Yeah?
I would go to a teacher's house.
How old were you when you started your piano lessons?
That's really interesting. I mean, maybe 8, 9. Can't remember exactly.
Were you learning pop songs on the radio, or were you learning standards, or what were you? Do you remember what
with
you were
my
practicing?
lessons? I was probably going through whatever book I was assigned and playing silly songs. You know, Just, you know, simple songs.
Were you? The reason I'm asking is because I'm very curious when you started composing songs. Something tells me that's something. Is it possible you've been doing it since you've been musicals?
I used to write little songs when I was a kid. But for the most part, my writing in earnest started on this new musical journey that I've been on for about 14 years. That's when I think the writing really started to just kind of come through me.
Okay. So what was happening before? Was there another musical journey before that?
Well, you know, I played guitar a little bit when I was a teenager and maybe, you know, in my early 20s. And then I kind of stopped. Well, okay, so I really stopped to raise children, you know, my 3 boys, which, you know, I wouldn't have missed for anything. So really, you know, the time just wasn't right to be doing that extra. You know, I was working and raising my boys. But for some reason, when I was about 45 or 46, I felt good and I felt strong. And I just decided that I was going to start playing and performing again. it just felt right. And I started taking piano lessons again, and not piano lessons. I do play a little piano. I started taking guitar lessons again, and I remember going to my first lesson, and my teacher said, "Well, what's your goal here?" And I said, I know, right. What's your goal here? At 46. I said, well, I want to learn 3 songs for open mic. And I did. I learned 3 songs for open mic. And I would go to open mic all the time, and I would just learn more songs. Every time I went to open mic, I was sweating and shaking. And I'm not even a sweater. I'm not sweating and shaking. And I just started to kind of learn more covers and just more covers. And I remember going to open mic one time, and I finished, and I realized that I had not been sweating and shaking. So I thought so I just put myself in a place of really just fear a lot, and just, I was really scared to do it, but I wanted to do it so much.
Could you just repeat what you just said? I want people to hear that.
It was really scary for me a lot, and it still is. I'm just leaning into the discomfort. It's scary, but it is just something that I really want to do and brings me so much joy. So I said it in a different way.
I think that's so, one, that's so cool of you to share that. Because that's, I think there's so much, that's where the magic happens when you're in all of that discomfort. And I want people, I think it's so important for them to hear that you experienced all those physiological things happening with your body, and you kept going back. Like that's
going back, glutton for punishment.
So I just want to pause you for a second. Is this a trait that either of your parents has, or someone in your family? Or is this you? Did you learn this from someone? Who inspired you to be this way, or was this just in you?
Musical, is that? Or,
experiencing like your body wanting to run but staying.
I guess I call it grit, and I'm really not sure because I never saw my mother as like that she was ever nervous performing, but I never talked to her about it either. Maybe she was, but I'm really not sure. But all I know is that I just wanted to do that more than anything. So.
I think that's. I just finished reading the War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and he mentions several times about the actor John Barrymore, about how he would throw up in his green room before he would perform. Once he got on stage, he was fine. And I think stories like that's why I appreciate so much you being so real and so vulnerable, because I don't know when that became like a thing where we have to hide our humanity in certain things and then other people like, oh, I feel this way, but this person has all their shit together. Why? What's wrong with me? And then the fact that they can learn from you, because I remember the takeaways that I had were, she's obviously on tour and she just popped in here just to blow off some steam or whatever before she gets on I figured the tour bus was on Guadalupe or something like that. And your chops when you let us all almost like a sing-along for Unbroken. And I was like, damn, she's got chops too. And it was because the thing is that for those of you who have yet to experience an open mic, if it's generous, you get 2 songs, maybe 3, and it's a lot of waiting, and then boom, showtime, and it's done before you know it. And that's this massive dopamine rush, dump of serotonin, all of these things happening, and it's normal for any seasoned performer to I was playing last night and the piano keys all started to disappear in front of my eyes. But you were so smooth in your performance. That's what I was so, I remember I was watching some MTV documentary or something with Britney Spears, and the person that was Britney Spears' handler for a photo op said, hey, before you meet Britney, you need to calm down because she's going to take on whatever energy that you have. So, change all of your emotions like in an instant. And people would actually kind of calm themselves down because she would absorb that. And I've noticed that the more relaxed a performer is, that then can tend to relax the audience. It's amazing how humans as a tribe, how we pick up on those things. I was totally relaxed when you were playing because I'm like, wow, what a treat that she popped in to do this.
Well, inside, I did feel nervous.
Uh-huh.
And, you talk about, making yourself vulnerable, which I believe is the only way to be a songwriter. But, songwriting and performing is a very interesting thing because you almost at once need to be vulnerable, but you also need to be Teflon. And it's a very tough thing to skate sometimes, a line to kind of, yeah.
I love how you put that. It's because that's true. It's so true. That's a beautiful. All right, we're not going to keep any kind of order to this conversation because it's just too interesting to me. So, when did you get the idea for your self-titled record? I know you said you wanted to. How was that born?
Okay, so I just kept learning covers and taking guitar lessons, going to open mic. Uh-huh. And I guess I had about 30 covers. A friend of mine, seasoned musician, he says, his name was Greg Watts. He says to me, hey, I know of this wine bar in Houston. Uh-huh. I think I give you this guy's number. I think you could get a gig there. And I was like, what, me? I'm not ready for a gig. Are you kidding me? Uh-huh. Like a real gig?
Yeah.
And he was like, you're ready.
Wow.
You're ready. You have what it takes. And so I did that gig and started kind of, getting just more and more gigs and doing covers. And then I started to write. I started to get the bug and I started to write. And then I had my first collection of songs with my self-titled album and recorded that. And then I really, started to really look for more songwriter spots. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I really don't want to do so much a 3-hour gig of covers. Huh? With my own songs sprinkled in.
Right, right. Yeah.
I really want to play my own songs.
Okay, so you just kind of breezed over something monumental. You made a record.
I did.
And it's self-titled.
Yes.
That's so, I love that because it's... So how did you walk us through? Because again, there's someone listening right now that's maybe has this dream in the attic of their mind. How did you I'm amazed by this. Can you tell me the timeline? So you go to this, you're taking guitar. This is in Houston. Mm-hmm. So you say, I want to learn, was it three songs for
I said, I want to learn
mic?
3 songs. He probably just laughed at me inside. Uh-huh. He was probably... Okay, you want to learn 3 songs
Yeah.
for a... Okay.
Yeah. So you do that.
Yeah.
And you start playing open mic.
Yeah.
Right? And then how do you get them to the studio and make this record? Walk me through that whole, I want to hear the whole process.
So after I wrote all of those songs, I started writing and I started performing my own songs, sometimes at open mic. And so then I just decided that I'm going to get these songs recorded. I really need to have a record of them. Mm-hmm. So, are you saying what was the time frame there?
Yeah, so from when you said to that guitar teacher, I want to learn 3 songs, how long from that exact moment to where you found yourself recording the first songs for Jeannine Higgins?
Now that I think about it, it might have been like 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, it seemed shorter than that to me, and now I'm thinking it may have been like 5 years. But I will tell you, I was very motivated. I was very motivated, so yeah.
So how did you go about, what was your first step? What was your path to going into that studio? And what studio was that?
So I recorded with John Allen Stevens, and I believe it's Third Coast Recording. I think that was the name. And so I just knew of him through, other musicians and friends. And so we went into the studio, and I had some musician friends that I called in to accompany me.
How did you go about booking the sessions? How long did it take?
Okay, it took, I think we gave ourselves a week or a little more than a week, but I was there every day, like full day recording.
And that's you playing guitar, right?
I am playing some guitar on that first recording, on that album, but others are also playing.
What was that like for you? Had you ever been in a recording studio before?
So I find recording very tedious. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. I'm just going to say. But I'm going to tell you what was the coolest thing for me is going in there, not sure what I really want with these songs because I'm a solo artist. So I just me and my guitar. But what was really cool is what it becomes in the studio and having some accompaniment that you hadn't even imagined that was maybe suggested. Hey, how about a fiddle on this one? Or how about, some percussion on here? And so it's very cool because it's not like, I'm in a band and we play the songs in the band and then we go to record them with the band. It's, so it really took on a whole new life in the studio. And that's what was really cool for me.
Okay, so if you can, walk me through the process here. So you've got 8 songs. Which song did you record first?
Oh, wow. I can't really remember which one I recorded first. But I know we were kind of very methodical about it. I seem to remember maybe we did all of the guitar tracks for all of the songs.
Really?
Then we added some vocals.
Okay.
And then we worked out when musicians could come in to do their parts.
Okay, so you had all these 8 songs that are on there. You had those all completely finished the way you like them, all how we hear them on the record?
Yes, they were all finished. And incidentally, I did do all of the backup vocals also.
Your harmonies are great on both records.
At least on that one I did.
Okay.
I did add some others on Shadow.
Okay.
Which was cool too. Yeah.
How did you feel the first time you put the cans on? What was it? Did you have a vocal booth? What was the design of that studio?
That's funny that you ask because it was I believe it was his parents' house. And so I was really singing in a closet.
Really?
In a closet. Yeah. You know what? The most amazing things is when you keep, you have your headphones on and the layers just keep getting added. And I mean, that just brought tears to my eyes because here are these songs that I composed really just coming to life and really just breathing. So yeah, I just remember that being really cool. Like when my violinist came in and he did his part and then we added that and it really did bring tears to my eyes.
Just for everybody who's listening, when we were getting the mics set up and everything, I asked Jeannine if she could just sing and just do a raw vocal just for me to get a level. And I can only imagine was his name? You said John?
That was for, yes, my first Jeannine Higgins. The album.
Was he engineering that as well? Or did he have a different engineer?
No, he did it all.
Okay. I'm putting myself in his shoes, and to hear your voice for the first time, I can only imagine how excited he was to record that record. How long? You said a week? You did this in a week?
Well, I seem to remember it was about a week because it was, I had some time off. So, yeah, I seem to remember it was about a week for that one. I will tell you what was interesting about, I don't know if you want me to talk about Shadow at all yet
please.
now.
Whatever you can talk about, whatever you wish.
That took a little longer because I was still living in Houston and I was working with a producer in Liberty Hill. So I would come out when I could and we, would work on it.
Where is Liberty Hill?
It's in Hill Country. It's pretty near where I live in Georgetown.
Oh, got it. Got it.
So
Okay,
I was traveling from Houston.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the interesting thing about Shadow is there were musicians playing on that record that I never even met. So he would just send it out and we'd have our mandolin part or we'd have our violin, we'd have, our guitar part, our bass. So that was really cool, really, So we never had any other musician in the studio except Merrill Brigante himself, he's a drummer. So he would do some percussion and some backup vocals. But that was a pretty cool experience too.
So you finished your self-titled record, Jeannine Higgins, and that came out in 2018.
Yes.
Just to back up to that, what was, when you finished it, how long after you finished and while you were recording, were you producing that record?
I was not producing it. You mean really as part of the production process?
Yeah, just essentially like direct. Because the reason I ask is that it feels, from what I know of you, it feels to have your fingerprint over the whole thing.
Well, I did tell him what I wanted. So, we went through, I think our first session together, we went through every song and we said, okay, what about this one? So What are the tracks going to be? What are you? And for me, all I could say is what I envisioned for it. Mm-hmm. Like, I can hear this definitely with the violin, mm-hmm. or, I would like some drums on this one. So as far as, yes, I think you're right. I really did kind of direct things.
Okay, because that totally makes sense to me. How did you know you were done? When were you ready to call it and go to master? Well,
I think I said to you earlier something about chasing perfection, and you always want the recording to be as good as it can get, but I think we together, John and I think we just decided at some point, okay, the mixing sounds pretty good here. He would send it to me every single time that we'd make a change, if I wanted a change, and then he'd send it back. But, just listening through, and it's like, well, everything sounds pretty good here, and I think we're ready to go to mastering.
So just for a little bit of clarity, when the song after Jeannine finished Be Home for the Fall, you said, what was it you said? You said you stopped.
Oh, chasing perfection.
Uh-huh. The reason I'm laughing is because, and the proof is in the pudding.
And I'm a perfectionist, so that's hard for me to do.
When like that was because I was getting another level. I had the mics switched in Logic, and I had the TLM routed to both tracks, and I had to separate them. As soon as I had it, and I asked you, let's just quick do one. As soon as I heard it, it was kind of like somebody was like throwing gold on the like. I'm like, I have to record this right now. So that's why I wanted to capture that take. So I think it's very interesting. And you made that comment. I was actually surprised when you said that, because it was like a divine take. It was incredible. And I think for me, that's fascinating. And I think that's a great example of how other people have different perspectives, and we have a certain perspective from our POV. So it was very interesting for me to hear you say that after you did that take, because I was the whole time was just making sure it's all getting recorded. Like that was my main concern, making sure everything was being captured live. So how many people knew that you were doing this? Were you sharing this with a lot of people? Who knew that you had embarked on this journey?
Do you mean the musical journey?
Well, or who knew you were recording a record?
Everybody.
Uh-huh.
I did tell everybody. Uh-huh. As a matter of fact, I think I remember posting on Facebook, taking a break from gigs because I'm focusing on this project,
Uh-huh.
So everybody knew. Yeah, I think, yeah.
And you mentioned your how many children do you have?
I have 3 boys.
3 boys. And
all grown.
All grown. And you said they're all musicians in their own right.
Yes. Yeah, they are. They all play guitar. All 3. My youngest son, Liam, he writes also. So he probably spends, and he's in a band right now. He plays the bass in a band. So he's probably a little more involved than the other 2 right now.
What's his band's name?
I should know this.
We can put it in the notes.
Okay. He was in a band, and then the band broke up, and now he's in some other musician. So I'm not sure really what they're calling themselves right now.
What did your sons? What were their reaction? Did they go into the studio with you? When did they first hear your self-titled record?
My sons have been so supportive of me doing this, just every step of the way. They're just my biggest fans, I guess, aside from my husband, Kevin. He's a big fan too. But, it's funny you should say that, because Liam, when I was recording Shadow, he had a day off and he said, Mom, I'm going to come to the studio with you. Maybe I can do something. Like I could do. So we get to the studio and Merle says, oh, it's great he's here. What's he going to do? I said, well, I thought he could do some backup vocals. And he said, does he know what he's doing? And I said, no. I thought maybe you could tell him what to do or something,
Yeah.
But anyway, he just kind of looked at me like, but he did. He did some of the backup vocals for I Saw a Stranger with Your Hair on Shadow.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I have some questions about that song.
Ah, okay.
Before we get to that, talk me through. So when you're recording, it's sent off to be mastered. Tell me about there's something really interesting about your cover art. And what caught my attention with your self-titled record is that it feels like you're writing somewhere and we're kind of capturing, somebody's letting us see into your process. Even the way that you're kind of framed out on the cover. Can you talk me through the cover of that?
Well,
we've got props. We have props in the studio.
I did. I brought my CDs just as a frame of reference. Amy Murphy took all of these photos. Honestly, I would love to say that there was some clever plan here, but I designed this myself. I had an idea that I designed it myself.
Yeah.
And I had an idea that I wanted it to be white. And then I just found the photo that I thought captures the essence of this particular set of songs. And I just went with that. And I designed it on Canva.
What?
I wish I could say that something was a little more deliberate here, but it was sort of like, well, let's see what works. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I would have had no idea. But that makes that totally tracks with how, that's very cool. And then how did it feel? Did you have a release party?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Wait, but how did you make the CDs? How did you get them online? What was your process?
So I sent them
the reason I'm asking is that I want someone to be able to learn from you.
Well, it's really easy, and I want to tell you, I am not a visual artist. So if I can design a CD cover, you can also. But I sent it away to CD Baby.
Okay.
And you just send your cover art and, everything that you want on your CD, and they design it for you. And then you can order them from CD Baby, and box came in the mail.
Mm-hmm. How did that feel when you open up that box?
Okay. First was relieved because I'm like, oh, it worked. It was okay. But I can't tell you how many times during the process of this project and all my projects that, I was caught kind of, teary-eyed because, you just think, I do want to tell you that many times along the way, that I call this new musical journey, many times along the way, I had this little tape that I would play in my head. What do I think I'm doing? Who do I think I'm kidding? I'm too old for this. So, at some point, that just slipped away. And I just let that go, you know? So, to complete a project like this, and it is emotional and tedious. So, to bring it to completion is very rewarding.
I think that's just, I think that's very special. How then did you go from your self-titled record to how soon did you start writing for Shadow?
Well, so a funny thing happened called COVID, which really wasn't so funny. So I had these songs for quite a while. So I started writing immediately again, you know, so it's always writing. But then COVID hit and I was sort of getting ready to record. I'm like, okay, I think these songs are ready. I'm going to, you know, start a new project here. And, you know, COVID hit and it just, it took the wind out of my sails a lot, you know? And so finally, when I felt like, okay, it's the right time, then, I really probably started this project in about 2022. Sometime in 2022, and it came to total completion with CDs in hand 2024. So it kind of was a long process, but there were a lot of things going on, and
Can you talk? There's, I'm fascinated by your cover art. Can you talk me through how did the cover for Shadow come about? And because I have a couple personal fan questions. Was that intentional? Is that with that curtain?
Yeah. So this is also an Amy who took these photos.
Okay.
But I'm calling it, there's a song on the CD, Your Own Shadow. And basically about not being afraid of your own shadow kind of deal, you know, or the only thing to fear is your own shadow. You know, you're the only one holding you back. So I thought about that song, and I also kind of wanted to I have a song on here, Curtain Call, and I dedicated this CD to my mother, who was a stage actress. So I kind of wanted to get a little take on maybe a theater curtain, or, you know, because of that song and because of the nod to my mother. So
Where was that photograph taken?
At my house. Do you know that I
have to let everybody know that Kevin is in the studio with us, and Jeannine just shot a great look to Kevin. That was great.
We looked for a theater as a place that we could. I told her I wanted a photo in front of, you know, casting a shadow in front of a curtain, a theater curtain. And we just couldn't find a theater that it was really going to work. And some of them said, well, sure, you can do it, but that'll, you know, we're going to charge you $500 for using it. And we just thought, you know, so she's like, I think I can get a curtain. So we got a curtain. We did this at night, and the house was completely dark, and she had just a spotlight. So this was at my house. Yeah.
I'm so impressed. That's I would have bet money that was some cool theater in Austin or something, those beautiful red velvets.
That's what we wanted, but we had to make do.
Unbelievable. So I have a couple questions. To go back to Jeannine Higgins, your self-titled record. May I ask you who Emily is from your song "She's Nobody"? Emily's song.
That is Emily Dickinson.
Okay.
And I just became kind of intrigued with her life. And so, yeah, that was one that I had to do a little research for. But yeah, that's Emily Dickinson.
Okay. Is it, I don't know if it's my own personal filter. Are you familiar or a fan of Jeff Buckley?
I never heard of him.
Okay. There's a great documentary that just came out about him and his life. Amy Berg is a director. I can't think of the name of the doc. The reason I ask is that I keep drawing this connection between his tone of his he had a couple records and yours. And I know I mentioned this earlier. There's this beautiful sadness that I feel coursing through parts of the songs. It doesn't leave me feeling depressed, but it makes me pay attention, and it stops me in my tracks, and it makes me want to dig into the songs. Could you tell me about that?
You're not imagining it, I would say. And, I think there is, maybe not every song, but, I guess, some of those songs were around the time that my father passed away. And Disappear is also, kind of surrounding my father's death. So, yeah, I don't think it's your imagination. I think the songs on that album, I think they move people. And, I have been told that just performing them. My husband used to joke around that I should really bring boxes of tissues to my performances. So, yeah, and it's interesting. I wonder too if that's the emotion that kind of motivates me more to write. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I really, because I'll listen to your music while I'm working, and it's something I really like having kind of on, say, on the right side of my ear while I'm doing some work, because it has this, it's like a balm. It's like, has this really calming energy. That's why for me it's a no skip. How did you feel after you had that amazing studio experience where you were essentially recording vocals in a closet in the parents' home of that producer, where you essentially were also producing the record as well? How did it feel then when you said it was in Hill Country?
Yeah, Liberty Hill.
Liberty Hill?
Yeah.
What was that for Shadow? How was that compared to your self-titled? What was that experience like?
It was a little different, just because the scope of it just went on much longer. Like with the first one, it was a week, and we're done. No time to change it, But it was kind of nice also to just have the experience of giving some time in between sessions and thinking about things. I will say I knew less what I wanted exactly. So I really went to Merrill with, I have these songs and I'm really not sure exactly, what I want them to become in the studio. So, I got a lot of guidance there, and he had some really just fine musicians to work with. So both, it was a different experience.
I wanted to ask you, because there's I find your melodies to be really, really interesting. What is your process to write? How did a song like Curtain Call, how does that happen for you?
I would say most often I write the lyrics first. Or, usually I have a concept or a title. And so usually the lyrics come first and then, and then the melody and the chords. I think it's important to carve out time and space to write. But having said that, many of my songs I wrote not in that allocated time and space. I remember I was writing this song, and actually it was Not Like Me, it's called. And I had it kind of, I was kind of coming along with it, and I decided I need to go to the mall because I need to get something. I don't even remember what it was. But all I did at the mall was I walked around and I finished that song. I took little scraps of paper out of my handbag. And so I remember coming back from the mall with no purchases, but I had my song. And I wrote that song walking around the mall, not even in a quiet space. People were, talking and music was playing, and I was just walking and finishing my song. So, carving out time and space is important, but I think also a lot of writing goes on just anywhere. So
you were writing the words and the melody while that was happening?
I think I was going through the melody in my head.
Really?
And I was going through the words, and I was jotting them down on these pieces of paper. I didn't intend to write when I went to the mall, but I ended up with that song in my head. And sometimes I'll just get up in the middle of the night because I think of something from my song. I'm like something very pivotal. It's like, oh, I have to get up and do this. I have to, have to write this down. I have to, this is big.
I find the lyrics, She Won't Stay.
Ah.
Those lyrics, how did you write that song? What was that whole process like for She Won't Stay?
Oh, She Won't Stay is about growing and changing in a long-term relationship. And, when you have a long-term relationship spanning years, decades, you shouldn't expect to find the same person there. One is not the same person at 50 as they were at 25. So it's a song about growing and changing in a relationship. And actually, it's called She Won't Stay, but it's really a song about staying and being accepting of the changes.
You've got a line in there. Never knew her anyway. That for me. It's like, it feels like a bit of a mic drop moment. There's some. I find your writing to be really, really thoughtful, and that one really struck me.
So I guess the feeling that I was having and maybe trying to get across is becoming more of myself all the time, coming into my own. I think that's what that line means to me.
Okay. I think it's a beautiful line. When you're, that was Liam who came in.
It was Liam who came.
And
yeah.
What was the song that he sang backup vocal song?
I Saw a Stranger with Your Hair.
I Saw a Stranger with Your Hair. Walk me. I'm very curious about that song as well, and because I want y'all to listen to these records, and you'll see why there are no skips. Talk us through that song.
Okay, I want to say first that is a John Gorka song.
Okay.
That is not my song.
Okay.
It's the first song that I recorded that is a cover. So, I did not write that song, but I can say that song really speaks to me because I think, it's a universal experience of, thinking that you see someone or someone that you used to know, and they turn around and you realize it's not them. And so I love John Gorka and I love that song. And so I decided to include it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you totally made that song your own. That's, it's wonderful. Oh, that's great to know that information. So as we close things up, I'd love for you to talk to the person right now who's feeling that fear and who's hearing those nasty voices say all the worst secrets that they feel are true to dissuade them. You've got the proof right there. Could you talk to that person for a second?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say, many times life gets in the way of our creative outlets. And I mean, for me, I felt the right time was in my 40s. And, I think, that is the time to really just seize the moment. And, I just started to say to myself, well, look, I'm going to get old anyway. I mean, hopefully, right? And I need to just do what brings me joy. And, as far as the fear, the discomfort, all I can say is lean in because, I think, that may never completely go away. But, whatever anyone is thinking, whatever creative outlet, writing or art or music, it really is never too late.
What's on the horizon for you musically? What do we got cooking?
Well, I am continuing to write. I really would like to pursue more. I really like songwriter in the round format. I love that, or just a songwriter spotlight. I really would like to pursue more of those, kinds of shows. Also, I really am feeling like I would like to collaborate with other musicians. Vocals, guitar.
Do you have an idea for your next album already?
Well, I have an idea, but I have an idea that I may play on Shadow and do something a little lighter.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I tend to take myself very seriously, so maybe something a little on the lighter end.
Well, Jeannine, thank you so much for coming by the Too Late to Quit podcast. I appreciate being so real and so open. I know I'm just really excited for the person that's going to hear this, and it's going to change the direction for them. I think that's pretty awesome. So I want everyone to always remember that it's always the right time to start, and it's too late to quit. You've got this. Thank you so much, Jeannine.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. This song is called Curtain Call, and it was inspired by my mother, who was a stage actress. And she had to kind of give that up a little bit to raise kids. And I think that's true for many women of her time who did not get to explore their creative outlets. Destined for theater, you delivered every line. Endearing fans applaud you, leading lady in your prime. Your best performance is yet to come. Put on your mask and your costume. Curtain call, charming smile for the crowd. You have it all, your friends should see you now. Curtain call, you take your final bow. Children and a husband enter Act 2. No dress rehearsal, no help when you feel blue. It was written that your heart was young and glad. You missed the stage and the life you had. Curtain call, charming smile for the crowd. You have it all, your friends should see you now. Curtain call, you take your final bow. All those before you that you admired, did you get discouraged? Did you just get tired? You were the star of your own show, a role well played. Curtain call, charming smile for the crowd. You have it all, your friends should see you now. Curtain call, you take your final bow. Take your final bow.
Thank you for listening to the Too Late to Quit podcast. This is a 424 Records and Rude Rudy production. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved. You got this, guys.